What's going on, ladies, gents, and kids of all ages? It is Eric coming back at you once again from the Nerd Cave. Sorry about the last missed episode, but as you saw, I've been very busy with my new son, so it's been a crazy couple of weeks since he came home from the NICU, but we're very happy to have him home, and he is freaking adorable. I'll show you here. Very cute baby. But back by popular demand, thank you to everyone who took the time to vote in the poll. We do have another deck breakdown video. This is a deck that I've been thinking about since the set came out. It's been kind of rolling around in my mind, and I've had a lot of cards that I thought would be good in it. I actually took a 135 card list and narrowed it down to 65 cards. If you want to hear more about how I build decks, definitely make sure you're jumping over and joining the Patreon. We have more information coming there about how I actually go about designing and putting together a deck into fruition and what things kind of weigh on my choices. But without any further ado, we're going to jump into talking about Ruby Sapphire Heroes. So the first card we are playing here is going to be Shield of Virtue. If you're not familiar with this card, it's been out since set 1. 1 costs 3, and tap it to ready chosen character. They can't quest for the rest of the turn, but this definitely synergizes quite well with one of the other cards we're playing in the deck. It'll stick out to you pretty quickly. We are still on a Hiram build for this particular deck, but the next card we are playing, because it goes so well with Hiram, helps you draw a card and helps you heal some things, is Popsicle. 1 cost item, banish it to heal something for 2, and when you play it, you get to draw a card. Then we have everybody's new favorite Sapphire item, and that is going to be Ice Block. Ice Block is a very cool card. Seems kind of mundane at first glance. When you start looking at it in combination with some of the other cards from this set, it becomes quite good. But it gives chosen character -1 willpower this turn. It is uninkable, or we'd probably be playing 4 of them, because I do think it is very good. And this is a card that hasn't been getting a lot of love. It's a little bit clunky to play in some instances, but when you are focused on healing your characters, she becomes pretty good. Mulan, a 2/3 for 1 that comes down and has 2 damage on her, but that is easy enough to heal with this deck, as you'll see, and we do need her as a shift target. Then the next card, I think this is a great card for Sapphire in general. I think most all Sapphire decks should run this card, but that is going to be 4/1 jump ahead. Put the top card of your deck in your inkwell face down and exerted. Kind of speaks for itself. It is also an uninkable card, but it is going to help you ramp ahead. So even if you don't have a lot of inkables in your hand, as long as you're able to get the 2 ink out and play this card, you're still going to be able to keep parity on ink, even if you're uninkable heavy. Also, if you're not uninkable heavy, it is going to help you ramp ahead. Next card we're talking about is a big reason that I wanted to build this deck. I do think this card is very cool, and that is going to be Anna. She is a 2 cost, 1/4. If you have another hero in play, she is going to get +1 lore, so she's going to be questing for 2, and she's a 1/4 for 2. I just think she's a really good body. She's hard to take down, and she is going to go ahead and squeak out some lore for you in most cases. Then our other 2-drop character is also going to be questing for 2, and that is going to be Aurora. 2/2 for 2, quest for 2, is also a shift target for another card we're playing in this deck, and believe it or not, she is also a hero. Then a surprise hero here, something maybe everybody might not think about, but we do have Minnie Mouse Stylish Surfer. She is a Dreamborn hero, and she is a 1/3 quest for 2 with evasive. Great card, big staple in the set 3 meta. It's become a little less relevant during set 4. There's a lot more evasive characters now, but I still think she's very good and has a lot of potential. And this is one I almost overlooked, but I wanted to play this card in Sapphire because it's a good way to deal with other item decks. But I did not realize Judy Hopps is also a hero, so she's going to come down, banish chosen item in play, and let the player draw a card. Great to target your own items if you really need the card draw, or target your opponent's items if you need to get rid of something like a Lucky Dime, which is a 2/3 for 3, quest for 2. As you can see, we're playing a lot of aggressive questers in this deck, which can really surprise your opponent because it's kind of the opposite Ruby Sapphire strategy. Most of them are trying to just ramp, and then go for the big bombs at the end. This deck has a lot of early game characters that can kind of keep the pressure on lore count wise. This is one of the big reasons we're playing 3 ice blocks, but we are running 4 brawl, banish chosen character with 2 attack or less. Awesome thing about this card, cost 3, it is inkable if it's not relevant, but if you have 2 or 3 ice blocks out, you're looking at being able to banish a 4 strength character, a 5 strength character with one of these, which is just crazy. Then this is a card I drafted in limited. It was really good in limited, and I wanted to build a deck around it. It's another big reason this deck came into fruition, and that is going to be Winter Camp. Whenever a character quests while here, they are going to go ahead and heal for 2. If they are a hero, they are going to go ahead and heal for 4. The 2 healing is plenty for most of the characters in this deck, even though they are heroes, but the 4 is relevant for some of our bigger characters towards the end, and it's a pretty solid location with 8 willpower for only 3 cost, and it does net you a lore every turn. Not too shabby. And next, one of my personal favorite cards to play in Sapphire. It's fallen in and out of favor. I think it's seeing some play still in the Sapphire Steel deck. Not so much Sapphire Ruby, but I think it's a great card for Ink Ramp, and that is going to be Mickey Mouse. Keeps the kind of pressure on with questing because you're getting another character on the board while still ramping you in ink when you play this character. You may put the top card of your deck into your inkwell face down and exerted. He is also a hero, and he does have 3 defense, quest for 1, uninkable again. I think this deck ended up somewhere around 20 uninkables, which is a lot, but when you're ink ramping, it could be okay. It is also a 65 card deck, so I think that's relevant. Then we do have 3 SISU. Again, fantastic card to go ahead and play with Ice Block. Ice Block's going to be able to give those opposing characters -1 to their attack, and when SISU comes into play, you can go ahead and banish any character with 1 attack or less. So this is a fantastic option. You get something like Robin Hood on the board, the big Robin Hood. All you need is a couple Ice Blocks and a SISU, and you can go ahead and straight up banish him. And she is a 1/1 evasive, so once she comes down onto the board, she can be a little more difficult to remove if they don't have that damage or they're an evasive character of their own. Then, like I mentioned, we are on a Hiram build, so we do play 4 Hiram Flaversham. I believe he's the only non-hero character in this deck at all. He is an inventor. I wish he was a hero, then that would have just really been even more on brand and would have helped him heal, but he is still really good when you get him onto Winter Camp because you're going to be questing in, getting rid of an item, going ahead and drawing 2 cards, and also still healing him for 2, so with 6 defense it can be a little difficult for your opponents to take him down. Also, when he comes into play, you can go ahead and banish an item and draw 2 cards, so he is our main card draw engine in this deck, and he is going to quest for 1. And questing for a lot more than 1. We are not as ink ramped focused. If you didn't notice, in the 3 drop slots, I am on an item build that is not running Fishbone Quill, so Belle is a way to ink ramp on her own because she is going to let you ink an additional inkable card each turn, which can be helpful. And when you have 10 or more cards in your inkwell, she is going to go ahead and quest for a +4, so 5 total. So fantastic card, 2/4 for 4, and the healing is great. She is also a hero, so she's going to be able to heal fully if she is questing in from the Winter Camp, but just a fantastic card. I would have probably played more of them if I was more ink ramp focused, but I may not always be getting to 10, which means this card may be going into the inkwell anyway, which made 2 seem like the sweet spot to play. We do have our one other location. It's a bit of a funny location. It's something I don't think is entirely necessary to the build, so if it's something you want to play without, trim your deck down a little closer to 60, you could take out this, you could take out Jim Hawkins. The interesting thing about this is characters gain evasive while here. If you have a character here, you may pay 2 less to move characters here, so obviously the optimal way to get it into play is with Jim Hawkins, but because we are semi-focused on ink ramp, we could definitely potentially just have the 3 to pay to move something into it and to give it evasive. It is going to net us 2 lore at the beginning of every turn, only costs 4 to get down onto the board, and does have 8 willpower. With this deck, if you're playing 1 jump ahead, you could potentially play this on turn 3, and when it is quite difficult for your opponent to deal with. Then everybody's favorite hero, probably the best hero in Lorcana at all. We are running 4 Maui Hero to All. He is a 6/5 for 5 rush and reckless, so he is going to come down and just absolutely blast guys out. He can't quest, so he can't take advantage of Winter Camp's ability to heal, but he's still just a great card that I think is absolutely necessary in Ruby to get some surprise attacks in for your opponent. He is a great way to deal with Robin Hood also, so definitely a must. He's also great at dealing with locations. And we do have 1 Jim Hawkins. When you play this character, you may play a location with cost 4 or less from your hand for free, and when you play a location, this character may move there for free, so whether he's coming out with the legacy or not, he can go ahead and move into it for free. Same thing with Winter Camp, and he is a hero for 4 quest for 2. I would probably play more of this if I was more location focused, but he is just kind of that sneaky bomb to get off on your opponent every now and again. He's not something that the deck is really leaning on. Here is the other reason I played the RLS Legacy. We are running 3 Aurora, Shift 3. That's also the reason the cost 2 Aurora is in the deck, but your other characters gain ward. So the thing that's really interesting with this in RLS Legacy is if you're moving all of your characters in there, you could potentially have characters that have ward and evasive, making them incredibly difficult to deal with outside of something like a Be Prepared. Then, like I mentioned, our small Mulan is also a shift target for our big Mulan. The interesting thing with this deck is it's fairly easy to heal the small Mulan so that your big Mulan doesn't have to come into play with damage on her. And then it is also fairly easy to heal her because she can go into the Winter Camp, go ahead and get a quest in, and then an attack, or vice versa. That's also a big reason we are running Shielded Virtue. You could hypothetically do something like Shift Mulan, go ahead and quest for 2, untap her, and then attack, or if it's more relevant to you and you're not going to die from your first attack, you could attack in, Shield of Virtue, and attack in again. When you play this character, if you use her shift to play her, she gets +3 until end of turn, becomes a 5/6, and during your turn, whenever she deals damage to another character in a challenge, she can deal that same amount of damage to 2 other characters. So obviously, if you're attacking with her twice in one turn, you're looking at dealing 30 damage to your opponent's characters, to 3 of them, and then 3 of them again, which is just absolutely gross. It's gonna most likely be a one-sided board clear if your opponent's board is open to that or they have characters that don't have ward. Then a card that is probably a staple in Sapphire, so I felt it necessary to at least kind of test it out in this deck, even though I'm not on a Tamatoa build. That is Lucky Dime. It can just create some crazy lore swings. Like, I've seen people gain 20 lore in one turn playing this card, which seems honestly kind of unbalanced and probably isn't something that will happen with this deck. But even if you can squeeze out an extra 3 to 5 lore with it one time, that's a massive amount of your lore in the game. That's almost 5 lore is 25% of the lore you need to win the game. So it can be really, really good, and definitely a card I highly recommend. When it first came out, it's like a $2 card, and frankly I'm glad I picked mine up then, because now it's looking at more around the $12 to $13 mark from what I've seen. And the other card I was working on getting my hands on to go ahead and build this deck for y'all is SISU Empowered Sibling, 5/4 for 8. Obviously we are playing the 1/1 SISU, so we do also have a shift target for this character. But when you play this character, banish all opposing characters with 2 attack or less. Again, fantastic with Ice Block, because we can go ahead and Ice Block down their characters, then play SISU and potentially sweep their board one-sided. She's also great with Lucky Dime because she does quest for 3, so you can go ahead and snag off that extra 3 lore immediately when she comes into play if you have a Lucky Dime out. So fantastic top end for the deck. The deck is a lot of fun to play. It does some cheeky things. People don't expect you to be on a hero build when they see Ruby Sapphire. They're expecting you to be on the standard High Roam, How Far I'll Go, Slow, Shrog into Tamatoa, Lady Tremaine, Madame Medusa, that kind of thing. Not playing any of those cards in this deck. The things that your opponents are going to try to play around are not here, which can keep them definitely on their toes, so it can be a lot of fun to play the deck. I highly recommend it. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this deck in the comments below. Definitely drop a comment, let me know what you're thinking. If there's another deck list you'd like to see us come out with in the future, definitely throw that in the comments below. I love to hear your ideas on decks and kind of build on that in my own way. I am also designing some other decks that are kind of totally out of left field, have nothing to do with anything that I've seen. Do I think this deck is going to be the new big meta deck? Probably not. Do I think it can compete with the decks in the meta currently? Definitely. I think you can definitely sneak out some wins. I would compare it kind of to Amber Emerald, which I think is a great deck and can definitely sneak out some wins, but is not totally meta defining. It is still going to lose a lot of matchups, especially against anything playing Steel. The Amber Steel or Emerald Steel matchup can be pretty rough for that deck, but it is a fun deck to play. But without any more rambling, thank you guys so much for sticking around. Thank you for continuing to subscribe. The plan right now is when we hit 2,000 subscribers to do another booster box giveaway, so definitely stick around for that. click that subscribe button if you haven't already and you're enjoying the content. If you're not getting notified of new content, make sure you are ringing that bell. Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And when you see those toys, video games, and sweet, sweet SISU hero decks off in the distance, it is not a mirage. You guys have a great day.